everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome back to my channel. I read 50 books so far this year in 2021, and we're gonna talk about it. I did this video last year because I hit 50 books in May of last year, like I did this year as well, and I was like, you know what? My goal for 2020 and 2021 is 100 books. This is halfway to my reading goal. I'm gonna talk about my stats because 50 books is a lot of books. This year have been kind of doing things a little bit differently. I have a different rating system than I did last year. I use G's from Bookroast Cawpile now. I love that rating system. I also use her spreadsheet on Google Docs or Google Sheets that she has to like keep track of all the books that I have read in 2021, which is awesome and I love it. I also still use my bullet journal this year. As I said, new rating system, which has completely changed the numbers from last year. I was rewatching that video this morning and I had like 5 3 stars, 5 4 stars, and then a gazillion 4.5 and 5 stars. And I was like, ooh, that has completely changed this year. So if you guys know, this year so far, 2021, has been kind of a middle of the road reading year for me. I have yet to really find a fantastic life-changing book like I did last year. I had read like 4 by the time I did this video, which is insanity. I had found my new favorite book of all time by that point, which was The Starless Sea. This year, I have read a few incredible books, but overall, it's been a pretty middle of the road reading year for me, which is fine because you can't have a great reading year all the time. Today, I'm going to go over the Cawpile spreadsheet stats that it compiles, as well as some of my personal reading goals that I've set out to do. I even did some math today, which makes me nervous, really due to just my unread TBR that I have. We're just going to get into this. Like last time, I did it by month, and then I went over and talked about my favorite books that I read in the month, and then my least favorite books that I read in each month. So as so far, we've only had 4 months, plus May. We're still currently in May. But, okay, so in January, I read 10 books, and January was pretty okay. We had a very middle of the road to a pretty high road, kind of like lowest rating was a 3-star, highest rating was a 5-star. February, again, read 10 books, and I had a little bit more of a spread. I had a 2.5 star, and then I had a no rating, kind of a full spread, and no 5 stars in that month. In March, I read 8 books. That was also the month that I DNF'd 2 books, so technically read 10, but I only count 8 and those 2 DNFs. And so March was not a fantastic reading month. It was okay. I had a 2.5 to a 4.5 star plus those 2 DNFs. And then in April, I read 12 books, so my best reading month so far. And that one, everything was between a 2.5 star and a 4 star, so really just kind of okay books. Nothing too shocking, nothing too incredible. And so far in May, I have read 11 books, but I am on track to read many more, so we will see where that one goes. Yes, I have read so far actually 51 books. I finished a book yesterday. I was listening to it on audio, so we're just gonna consider this 51 books, kind of middle of the road. We'll do star ratings next. So star ratings, I have my little division here in my bullet journal. You can see my graph, kind of. My graph goes from a 1 star to a DNF. So it has 1 star, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, no ratings and DNFs. So those are all the categories that I've got on my star ratings graph. And if you couldn't see, my 3.5 star is the tallest. So I have 14 3.5 stars. Those are the tallest ones. So let's just go through this. I have no 1 star. I have 1 1.5 star. No 2 stars. I have 5 2.5 stars. And then I have 6 3 stars. As I said, 14 3.5 stars. 13 4 stars. Nope, I lied. There's a little nugget here that's made it in there. That's made it into the 4-star range. So 14 4 stars as well. So 3.5 and 4 stars match. That was one of the 5 stars that I rated right when I read it, and then on like further thought I was like, no, that's actually a 4 star. So I changed it, and I had to use white art in my bullet journal. 7 4.5 stars and 3 5 stars. 1 no rating and 2 DNFs. That's how my year's been going so far. It's not fantastic, but it's not bad. Pretty middle of the road. 3.5 stars are pretty great, and I think my ratings have really changed from last year because I've been using using this CAWPILE rating system. It is making me more objective in my ratings. It's making me consider everything other than just, wow, this is a pretty great book, which I like better as a reviewer and as someone who likes to have things nicely organized in my life. It is quite nice to have this CAWPILE system to do the work for me, and it's fantastic. So I love that. But okay, a year in genres. So far I have a fair stretch of genres in here. We got a whole whack ton. So this year I decided to do, they're both genres and categories in general. So my categories are YA fantasy and fantasy. So for YA fantasy, I have read 9 so far this year. For regular adult fantasy, I have read 12. Then I have sci-fi, is just general sci-fi, which I have read 10 of this year, which I'm really proud of. It's a big jump from last year. For middle grade, I have so far read 4. Then I have just general fiction, which I have read 6 of. Then I have YA fiction, which I have read 1. Then I have 2 romance books, 4 classics, which is keeping with my original goal to read a classic a month, but I have not read a classic a month. It has just been, I have so far read 4 classics and there have been 4 months. I missed a classic, I believe, in February. Yes, February is the only month that I don't have it there, so I've kind of caught up. But yeah, I have 1 nonfiction, 1 mystery, 1 historical, and so far I have not read any graphic novels this year. Okay, so those are all my bullet journal stats. So let's pull up a little bit more statistics through my CAWPILE kind of a thing, which I've really enjoyed, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm not gonna share all of these stats. I think I will share them in my final like end of the year wrap up that I do as like an overall like kind of percentage wise, because there are a lot of different things that it breaks it down. But I do want to talk about a few things that I find really interesting. So one of them is that my age categories this year, I have read 4 middle grade, as I said, I've read 12 young adult and 37 adult books, which is crazy. 37 adult books. I've really noticed this year that my adult reading and my adult books that I have in general have really changed, and I've really liked that because I was looking at my YA shelf and I have not read a ton of YA fantasy this year, and I don't own a lot of regular YA contemporary books anymore, which I find really interesting because that used to dominate my bookshelves. So I'm growing and I'm changing and I like it. Another one that I find really interesting is that so far I have a 49.1% to a 51.1% ratio of books that I've read that have LGBTQ plus representation in them. So I've read 26 books where it has been absent. I have read 7 books where it's been the main character, and then 20 books where it's just been present in the narrative, which is great. And I'm gonna try and see if I can push that even further and make it not a 50-50 split, but like a more LGBTQ plus representation books. We love it, and we love to see the representation. Another really interesting one is that I have read 24 standalone books this year, and I have read 29 series books that are series books. Now, who wants to guess how many series I've actually finished this year? 1. I have finished 1 series this year, and I don't even remember which one it is, which is crazy. And I was looking at that stat the other day and I was like, I have started or like continued 29 variety of series. Oh my god, I need to look at my stats and actually finish series this year. That should be a goal for my rest of 2021, is actually finishing series, because that stat freaks me out a little bit. I also have for a POC author, I have a 34% to a 66%. So I really want to move that 34%, yes, this has been written by a POC author, to I want to like at least have like 50% by the end of the year. That would be incredible. And so far, that breakdown for those person of color authors, I have 1 Indigenous author that I've read so far. I'm also currently reading a book by an Indigenous author, so there's going to be another one on there. There's also a Latinx, and there's one more that it's not telling me what it is. Biracial. There's one book that I've read that is a biracial author, 4 Asian authors, and then 10 Black authors, which is awesome. We love to see it. And there's another one that I am also super happy with, and that is my written by men, women, or non-binary authors wheel. And I have read 35 books by women this year, which we love to see. And I've read 2 books by non-binary authors and 15 books by men. So I would love to keep that number as it is, or even include more non-binary authors on that, because why not? We're gonna just, women and non-binary people are going to dominate the world, and I want to reflect that in my reading. Really, it's been a really interesting reading year to see all the varieties I've done. I used to think that I read really long books, but I've, like, my majority of, like, length of books that I've read is between the 350 to 400 page range, which to me is a, like, middle book length. I know to a lot of you it might be a really long book length, but I'm used to reading like 1,000-page length books and stuff, as you guys know, and fantasy books are usually really long. So I really love this tracker that G has set up, and I'm going to be continuing to use it as we go into the rest of 2021. All right, let's talk about books in each month that I have that is my favorite and that have been my least favorite. So we're going to start with January. So in January, as I said, I read 10 books. My favorite that is not a reread, because my only 5-star this month, was Emma, which was a reread for me, which is one of my favorite books of all time. My favorite book was The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This book was so fun and just an incredible sci-fi. That one I gave 4.5 stars. And my least favorite book that I read in the month of January was The Reaper Man by Terry Pratchett. I gave that 3 stars. In February, I also read 10 books, and my favorite book, I have actually 2 favorites. One was Hall of Smoke by Hannah Long. I think about this book on the daily still, and I really want to reread it because I just love it so much. And also The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. February was also the month that I did my reading sci-fi, like reading out of my comfort zone for 2 weeks, and where I just read sci-fi for 2 weeks, which was so much fun. I really enjoyed it, and it really kicked off a love of sci-fi in me, which I'm so happy about. My least favorite book that I read in February was Dragon Pearl by Yoon Ha Lee. I still think about how not good this book is and how much better it could have been, but it's fine. It's fine. Another one as an honorary mention that wasn't my like absolute favorite of the month was Red Rising. That one, I still don't understand why everybody likes the main guy, that I no longer remember his name. I don't understand it. Somebody explain it to me. He's kind of the worst. In March, I read 8 books. I DNF'd 2. So besides those 2 that I DNF'd, my least favorite was These Violent Delights. I did not really like that one. I felt it was just kind of middle of the road, kind of not great of a YA book, but I also can understand why people love it so much in a way, because it has a lot of YA tropes that people just absolutely love, which I have fallen out of love with. The 2 that I DNF'd Witches Steeped in Gold, which I felt was all over the place and really confusing, needlessly so. And I also officially DNF'd The Count of Monte Cristo that month because I just was not gonna read it. I was not gonna finish it, and I just decided to DNF it off my list. I'd gotten halfway through, which is 500 pages of the classic novel, and there was still another 500 pages after that, and I was just like, you know what? No, we're not gonna put myself through that. So those are the 2 books that I DNF'd. My favorite book in the month of March, I have 2, we're gonna talk about 2. One of them was Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas, and the other was The Midnight Bargain by C.L. Polk, and I just, fantastic. Both of those were so good. In the month of April, I read 12 books, so my most read month, and this was the month where I finally had my full first proper 5-star book, and that is The Song of Achilles. So that was my favorite book of that month, and I absolutely loved it. Oh, so much. I have 2.5 stars in here. Both of them are my least favorite of the month, and they were Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel and Son of a Trickster by Eden Robinson. So those were my 2 of that one. And we'll kind of do a little bit in May because we are currently in May. It is May 19th today that I'm filming this. So far, as I said, I've read 11 books. It's been okay. It's been like, I'm seeing an upturn in my reading. My least favorite book that I read this month was The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, and that one I read because of book club, and I gave it 1.5 stars. And my favorite book of this month so far has been Act Your Age, Eve Brown, which is another 5-star book. I absolutely adored it, and I'm not sure yet if I like it more than Chloe Brown or if it's like second favorite for me. I'm gonna have to reread Chloe Brown to really tell, but I've officially read all the Brown sisters books and I love them all so much. Talia Hibbert is fabulous at what she does. Another honorary mention is The Emerald Atlas by John Stephens, which is, I think, now my favorite middle grade book. I absolutely adored it, and I've already ordered the next 2, and I'm so excited to get them. Oh my god. Anyways, my friends, so that is the breakdown of month by month. If you guys want more information, I will leave the playlist to my wrap-ups linked down below, so you can go look at all the books that I've read and hear my thoughts about them in specific in each of those wrap-ups. But if you guys remember, I make this a thing on my channel. At the beginning of this year, I had 172 unread books on my shelves. I think in one of my videos I said 170. I recounted and I had 2 extras that I just forgot to count because I guess they were in my room or something. So 172 unread books on my shelves. So far this year, I have hauled 42 books onto my shelves, all brand new. So those don't include the 3 classics and the 1 book that I won in a giveaway that I have already read. So 42 books. Brand new books on my shelves. Of those 42 books, I have read 15 of them already. I'm trying to keep on top of it. Not really going that well, but 15 of them, you know? After I set my 172 book threshold, I have unhauled, I believe, 2 books. I've unhauled 2 Jay Kristoff books because I don't want to support him on my channel. I really don't like his books anyways. I've tried to read both Illuminae and Nevernight. Those are the 2 books that I have on my shelves, and I couldn't get through them, so they're going off my shelves now. Okay, so after all of that, I have 172 at the beginning of the year. Hauled 42 books, unhauled 2. In general this year, I counted how many books that I have read, including the ones that I've hauled and everything, from my physical TBR. I have read 36 physical books off my TBR. So that means my physical TBR has grown by 4 books. I now have 176 books on my physical TBR. And that's okay. And that's okay, because we're gonna still continue to read all the books that I own and slowly get through them, which is great. I am also planning on doing a video, which is kind of interesting because I have a bunch of books currently right next to me that I'm not as interested in anymore. And so you guys will probably see it in June. It is going to be a Trash My TBR kind of video where I present to you all the books that I no longer really have interest in. I got that on the go as well. So I'm thinking I might do a massive unhaul as well, which will strip books off my physical TBR as well, because I have hauled too many books and I already have another book order on the way. Because that's just what I do. Anyways, my friends, so that is it. I have read 50 books so far this year. 51 books so far in 2021. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below how your reading year is going, what your favorite book of the year is so far. I think my favorite book of the year so far, it's a tie between Song of Achilles and Act Your Age, Eve Brown. 2 totally different books, but both with romance at the center of them, which is interesting. Anyways, my loves, I will catch you in another video soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.